Good morning, friends. It is early. I am not even ready for the day. I have not drank my first cup of coffee. But tonight I'm making chicken gyros for a group of ladies, and I've got to get that chicken going. So I'm going to show you how I cut that chicken, how I marinate that chicken, and then later we'll come back and we'll put it all together with the pita, the lettuce, the onions, the tomatoes, and we're even going to make some homemade tzatziki sauce. Doesn't that sound good? Let's get making. I've already got some of this chicken in the bowl. I went ahead and cut this. Now, for these gyros, I go ahead and I cut these chicken breasts into strips. As you can see, I've left the last two breasts. I'm making this for a crowd over here tonight, so I got about 4 pounds of chicken. I have more than doubled the recipe. So here is how I cut this. I just take the breast and I cut it into strips, because then if you grill it or saute it or however you do it, it's going to kind of come out like that gyro size and texture that you want. So I will just finish up cutting these, and I'm wanting to give this marinade at least 8 hours. Let's see. It's going to be almost about, this is gonna give it about 9 hours today before I cook it. So again, they're not the full breast, so there's no need to do it overnight. These are smaller pieces. All right, get those all in. So our chicken is completely cut into strips, and now I'm going to show you that marinade that I make. Just get this out of the way. Alright, we are going to I'm going to do this in the mason jar first. I've got a half a cup of oil. This is olive oil. I've got almost 1/3 cup of white balsamic vinegar. Now, if you don't have white balsamic vinegar, you could also use like a rice vinegar, or you could use a sherry vinegar would be fine. Just not something dark, and I would not use apple cider vinegar. So we're going to dump our white balsamic right in there. And then I've got about 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. Go ahead and add that. And I know this looks like a lot of marinade, but again, this is only going to sit for about 8 hours. And then lastly, I've got a Greek seasoning mix that I've gone ahead and made. Now I will leave the, it's a long list. I mean, there's dill in here, there's oregano, there's salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, marjoram, thyme, dill, cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg. Just that's what gives you that flavor that you're looking for. So this is 6 tablespoons, which seems like a lot, but we're working with 4 pounds of chicken today. So I am going to go ahead and add everybody in. Now when I make dressings, when I make marinades, a lot of times I will use a mason jar, just simply because. And then we'll just pour this right over that chicken. Everybody's in. My hands are already chickeny, so I'm just going to go ahead and get everybody into that marinade and make sure that those seasonings are covering all the pieces of chicken. Ooh, that smells really good. I'm looking forward to this. And this is one of those, we can either grill it or we can saute it. The weather is not on my side today, so it doesn't look like I'm going to grill this. I'm probably just going to saute or pan fry these strips of chicken for the gyros tonight. All right, that looks great, and that's what you want to see. So we're going to go ahead and cover this, wash my hands, and I'll be back in a little while to show you how I make everything else. All right, friends, it's much later in the day. I'm ready to go, and I'm going to pull these chicken gyros together and get them ready to serve tonight, okay? First up, we're going to do the lettuce. Now, this is something you could either eat in the pita wrap, or I'm going to make sure that there's enough lettuce on hand in case there's anyone there that's not eating carbs or bread or flour, anything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that there's a little bit of extra lettuce just for that. And I'm slicing this lettuce, kind of chopping it. This is going inside of a pita, so we don't want humongous chunks. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the bowls that I'm taking with me to serve, my pretty green bowls. If you've been watching my channel, then you can see that I love pretty green dishes. The old ones, like the 1970s, 1980s. It's so funny because I grew up in a subdivision in the 70s. In fact, my parents lived in the same house from the time I was, I think, 3 years old until the time I left, and continued to live there until I was in my 30s. But we had a green kitchen growing up, and all the things were green. The canisters on the counter, all of the glasses, and a lot of the serving pieces and things that my mom had were all this avocado green. And it's so funny because I hated green when I grew up, but now that I've gotten older, I think it just reminds me of the sweet childhood that I had in the kitchen that I grew up in, because I love green dishes. So we're going to put all of this lettuce right into the bowl, and that's romaine lettuce. And just like that, our lettuce is ready. We're going to go ahead and put that in the bowl. Okay. All right, set that aside, and we'll cover that. Next up, we'll do our tomatoes. Now, I love chicken gyros. I mean, anything Greek, yes, 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 all day, yes. The other thing you could do is if you have leftovers of this chicken, if you go ahead and make this and you have leftovers, you could totally use that chicken gyro meat to make a Greek salad. So you could add your tomatoes, cucumbers, red onions, pepperoncini peppers. You could add beets, feta. I mean, come on. Now, I'm going to cut these, since these are going on gyros, I'm going to cut these into like little wedges, so each person can kind of get a couple wedges for their pita. This is how they normally serve them in the restaurants, right? So I'll just quickly wedge these up. I'll show you how I make my tzatziki sauce in just a minute. I love tzatziki sauce. I love it with like chicken shawarma. That's a good one. We'll have to do that this summer. I actually love it if we go to a Greek diner. There's specifically one downstate, which that's what we call Southern Michigan. Brighton, Michigan, there's a Greek restaurant that does breakfast. So good. And they have a Greek omelet that I put tzatziki sauce on. It is amazing. So there's a lot of uses for tzatziki. It's very much also like tzatziki is very much like the Indian raita with yogurt. Very similar cuisine in terms of that dish. Alright, 2 more tomatoes left. And I do this dinner for my friends once a month. It's actually at my church, and so they are all my friends, but I make dinner for them once a month. It gives me a chance to try recipes and out on them, and they don't mind. And it gives me a chance if I see a recipe or if I want to practice a recipe. They serve as great testers, you know what I'm saying? My friends will always serve as great testers. Alright, tomatoes are done, so we're going to leave those back here in the bowl. Next, we're going to do our red onion. So we're going to go ahead and cut this. Oops, a little bit deeper. Cut it in half. Peel that top. Peel a couple of those top layers off. I always want to know why they don't call it a purple onion. It's purple, it's not red. Alright. Alright. We're just going to slice these into little, as thin slices as I can get with my knife. And I gotta watch what I'm doing. We're just going to kind of break those up. People can grab just a few little slices of onion. They're gyro. And go ahead and do that other half. Whew. Hey now. Alright, don't cry, Jenny. Let's get this as quick as we can and get this away. I've seen people use those. Oh, shoot. I've seen people use those onion goggles. I think I might need to get me a pair. Woo! These are strong. That's a strong onion. Let's just get through it as fast as we can. One eye open. Alright. Let's get those broken up. Get those away from me. In fact, I think I'm going to cover those and I'll be right back. Whew. I've got that onion over there and I've wiped my eyes. I'm no longer crying. If you've got a tip or a trick to avoid that crime, let me know. I'm interested. I've heard it all. I've seen the goggles, I've seen flame, I've seen water, I've seen cold onions, I've seen all kinds of stuff. What do you do to not make yourself cry when you're cutting onions? I'm interested. Now I've got a whole English cucumber, but I'm only going to use half of that for the tzatziki. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the other half for cucumber slices. Not that that's a traditional thing found on a chicken gyro, but some of the ladies might want an extra crunch in their pita. So I'm going to go ahead and slice these up and just kind of serve these alongside. Go ahead and do this cucumber for the tzatziki. Now, I like to take the seeds out just because in that middle there's a lot more water, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to eliminate some of that. But I mean, cucumbers aren't watery anyways, but I'm just going to hopefully take out just a little bit of that in the middle. Put that with my spoon. All those seeds and that, the liquid they're suspended in, out of there. All right, now I'm just going to take my box grater and I'm just going to grate this cucumber and we're going to put it right into our bowl. I used up all my paper towel today, so I'm going to go ahead and use a tea towel. And this is really liquidy, so I'm going to go ahead and just squeeze a little bit of this liquid out in a tea towel. Because it's wet. Pretty easy to do. As you can see, that's quite a bit of liquid that's come out. Now, I think I'm just going to need about half of this other half. Okay. So let's just do about half of that. I don't have really an exact recipe for tzatziki. I've made this so many times that I just kind of make it by feel and by sight, which I do a lot of cooking by feel and by sight, so this is a whole new venture for me to have recipes that aren't just a little this and a little that. Alright, that should be enough, so we'll just get a spot where we can squeeze some of this liquid out. About what I thought. I've made this a few times. That looks not like the rest of this here. We've got just about the perfect amount here. On there. Go ahead and wipe the board a little bit, clean that off. And then lastly, we're going to cut off some dill, and we're going to go ahead and add some fresh dill to this. Now, I think we don't need much, and you can absolutely substitute dried dill. I think we'll use about a tablespoon, so you would need probably about a teaspoon. If you're using a tablespoon of fresh, you can use a teaspoon of dried when it comes to herbs. At least that's my rule of thumb. So let's chop this dill up. Maybe just a little. Alright. Good to go. And as you can see, that's about a tablespoon. We'll mix that in. If we need more, we just got more. Oh, that smells good. Yeah. That is a good amount of dill. I think we hit that right on the nose. Now, I'm not going to add anything else to this. You could, I mean, it could probably use a little bit of salt, but if I use salt, it's going to make those cucumbers more liquidy. It's going to release that and maybe make the sauce more liquidy. You could also, if you wanted to, I mean, if you didn't mind it being a little liquidy, you could add a squeeze of fresh lemon. You could add a little bit of garlic, but I like it as is, because remember that the gyros are marinated with vinegar and lemon juice, so that's going to be kind of that bright acidic flavor. This is going to go ahead and complement that really well as is. Well, that was quick. I got everybody ready. We've got our lettuce, we've got our tzatziki sauce, our thinly sliced red onions, our cucumbers, and our tomato wedges. I'm going to go ahead and cover all those up, and those are ready to serve once we get there tonight. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these pita, because pita bread always kind of bends and folds up into a sandwich easier when it's heated. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, and this is what I do when I serve this to clients, is I am going to put them all nice on a platter, kind of piled up. Just like that. Now I'm going to cover that. I'm going to go ahead and save my bags in case there's leftovers. I'm not going to throw those away. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this with foil. And then later on today, when I'm serving these, I'm going to go ahead and put those in a low preheated oven just to warm as I'm getting everything ready and I'm cooking the chicken. That way, those pita bread will be warm, you know what I'm saying? And then we'll get little pieces of foil if you want to wrap it and take bites out of it. Tonight, all that's left to do is to cook that chicken. Now, I'm going to cook that on location, but I'm going to try and take you with me and show you how I put this all together. So, I'll see you later. All right, friends, I am here on location, and I am just about to finish those chicken gyros. I've got some oil heating in a pan behind me, and I've got the oven preheated. I'm going to cook those in a little bit of oil, and then I'm going to get those in the oven to stay warm until everybody gets here. Got all those things we put together this morning. There's our pita on the bottom. We're going to get those warm and all the things we chopped. Our chicken is just about ready to go in that pan. Oh, would you look at that? Look how good that looks. We're going to get those warming, nice and brown. Normally you would want to do this on the grill, but it's snowing, and so I'm not pulling out the grill today. All right, friend, dinner is done, and they were so good. Thank you so much for hanging with me today. I will show you a picture of my plate. I'm going to go ahead and clean up and say goodnight. But as always, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.